So today is a big day. I went out and bought me some mid-school BMX parts. I'm on the way back home from the bike shop right now. He has a pretty big back lot of stuff that you can't usually find on the internet, even on Facebook. Still in the packages usually. So my passenger seat is fully loaded with odds and ends for this build. I'm still missing a couple items. I need to get the gyro tabs for the frame that I'm using, because it's the first frame that I'm going to be building off of is not a mid-school at all. It's a I think it's a Muraco Villi or something like that, or Veli, which I believe it's like a mid-tier frame. I don't think it's a full triangle. I think it's like a half triangle. I don't even think it's a full frame. It's quite light for my standards. I mean, I'm not a big guy or anything, but I'm always been used to manhandling a bike around that's like, you know, in the 30s, if not 40 pounds. But it is what it is. And eventually I will finally find the mid-school frame that I actually want. Which sadly the red ones are all in the UK for some odd reason, and I apparently only had the only red one that was in the United States, which is a Trek SubVert Pro 3.0, because that was the only good one. Hell, the dropouts on that frame alone probably weighed I don't know, a pound by themselves. When I'm in the search for one of those, I definitely do want to build a proper mid-school bike, but this is to basically get the wheels rolling. I do think that the frame that I'm going to be using is going to suffice. I don't know if I'm going to snap it, but if I do, I mean, Muraco's done and gone, so their warranties are, you know, or SOL. I mean, it's basically like trying to get a fucking refund from a bankrupt company. Nothing against them. They're gone for a reason, and we all have to respect that. But it was a smoking deal on that bike, so to be able to build off of that one, I'm kind of blessed. But the major hurdle that I'm dealing with right now is the last piece of the gyro, which is those bolt-on pieces for integrated, because you can't run a gyro on an integrated headset because of the fact that the bottom bracket of the gyro usually went underneath the cup of your headset. So that being said, I'm gonna sacrilegiously have to drill out this Mura frame. But like I said, it's not like a high-end collectible one. It's white. I mean, it's nice, but it like I said, it's gonna fit the bill. Man, these brake lights like freaking shine into this this video pretty good. I don't plan on doing a bike build until I have everything, and I'll set up the cameras for that and actually do a proper mid-school build-up. The rarity of it yeah, I'm going to be putting front brakes on and rear brakes that work. I did find a mid-school cassette, which those are very rare. I mean, just to find a cassette that's 48 spoke is super rare in itself. But when I picked it up just now, it had a 16 tooth. We looked into the backlog of parts that they had, and then sure enough, I mean, if it was a mountain bike store, it'd be a one thing, and they'd have a 13 tooth that I could slap on there. But this is a BMX store; they don't usually carry that. So they ended up finding one for me, which was cool. So I'm gonna be able to put a 13 tooth on it at least. That way I don't have a 44 tooth sprocket on this thing, because that's the one thing I never liked about mid school was anybody running a 16 tooth freewheel. God, those front chain rings were huge. I think that when it's all said and done with the Muraco frame, it should weigh in at around 34 pounds, maybe 35. I mean, we're just estimating and guesstimating right now, but I don't think it's going to be too heavy. The front fork that I got is massive. Just the yoke on it alone looks like it weighs probably 2 pounds. That being the part between the two forks. Yeah, it's like a solid mass. Oh, and I didn't get a set screw for it. Son of a bitch. I'm gonna have to pick one of those up. I'll just order one. I don't know. There's some parts that you can order online pretty easily and have accessibility to them. I only got like about probably 3 or 4 more minutes till I get back to the home front, and I'll quickly show the collection of goods that I got today. I mean, most of you guys will be like, "Ah, this is cheap," but you gotta understand the market right now. Like, you guys building modern bikes, you guys are SOL right now, and like us guys that are actually trying to build our original bikes from back in the day, our parts were already rare. So, like, to compare it to the fact of the matter of how, with what's going on in the world right now, and shipping and all that other stuff going down, sources are very slim for parts. So being able to actually go and find mid-school parts, like an actual Diacomp 990 set, oh my god, it's almost impossible. Like, literally, right now I got 5 sets of I think they're Tektros 990s, and it's not the most optimal brake to use. They're not made out of aluminum, I don't believe. I think they're made out of like a pot metal. And if it's not pot metal, it's pot metal aluminum. So they usually tend to, like, if the bike is kept in a moisture environment, or an environment in weather and stuff, the Tektros end up swelling internally, and the bushings and everything just start going out of whack. That's the reason why I always keep a lot of lube in mine, because of the fact that I do tend to usually ride a little bit in the wet, so it just keeps all the water out of that little part. If you get water in those bushings and there's no lube in there, like, that's a big deal. And then the person that owns the bike, they sit there and they tighten down the brake return springs to the max, and then they wonder why the brake itself fails. Well, the thing is basically you're counteracting that smooth motion that's no longer smooth, and it's tight on the shafts because of the fact that either you got rust in there or the fact that you got dirt, mud, or debris in there. I mean, it happens a lot on dirt, like jump bikes and stuff like that. I mean, if you guys still run brakes on those, I'd hope you do, because the last time I rode dirt on a 20-inch, like, yeah, those bikes are quick. Alright, almost home. And now I will start showing the goods. I don't know if I'm going to be able to because the lights haven't turned on in the overhangs. But we'll see. Let's see if anybody's taking my compact spot. Nobody has taken the compact spot. All right. Things are looking on the up and in the up. All right, let's see what it looks like in here. A little too far. All right. Yeah, it's kind of dark in here. Oh, how are we going to resolve that? I mean, technically Half Link was around in mid school, so that's what I got. We had a Half Link chain. It's 80 link. I don't know if it's gonna actually cover the 13 to. I'm trying to track down a 36 tooth sprocket, but if not, I'll just run the 38. I mean the 28. I mean, here's a brand new front Tektro. Obviously some more. This is going to be for the front. I got the kink with built-in London mod rear for the gyro when it actually I get all the parts in. And as I posted probably in another video that I don't know if I did, but if I didn't, here's the Odyssey M2 lever with built-in dual cable. And I do have a set of the Lizard Skins DSPs, which they do feel really good for a non-lock-on. I mean, these are really, they feel really good. I mean, if you got a chance to actually look for these and you can actually come across them, I highly recommend these. And I run foam, so basically, like, for me to actually say a rubber grip is actually really good, that it says a lot. So here is the 48 spoke. I'm about to lose the 13 tooth. This is, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's a, is that DK? Yeah, it is a DK hub. This is a DK hub on the Sun Kingpin. The Kingpin was actually a really cool 48 because of the fact that every single one of the spoke holes for the tensioners, every single one of them is riveted. And you don't see that too often in BMX anymore. Like, I've seen a lot of guys with, like, you know, high dollar Odysseys and stuff, and they don't usually run them. Oh yeah, and it's 14 millimeter, and then 14 millimeter front 48 spoke. These are fucking heavy. Both front and rear are sealed. I mean, the DK rims themselves weren't really high dollar, high quality. But the thing about them is, the reason why they're rare is they're a 48 spoke cassette. Now granted, the guts on the cassette that they run aren't really considered modern in any way, but the guts that they're running in them are mountain bike guts that they converted over to BMX. So in theory, the pause in these DK rims, or the hubs, they'll last forever. I don't believe that these are custom built wheels. However, they are still very sought after. The rims themselves on the market probably right now are worth probably about $200. They're super rare. And I'm about to go take them out and put them on the street and beat the shit out of them. The hubs, that DK hub is not really rare, but it's rare in 48. And the fact of the matter, it's I always call a sealed hub a pro edition, because of the fact that basically that's what it is. Pro bikes always had sealed everything, and unless you're dealing with like Kent or like Huffy and shit like that. But even then, they're pro bikes that you had to special order through like the bike magazines back then, that would rarely have them. Their pro builds are actually fucking pretty good. If you can actually find a Huffy that's a pro build, they're stupid rare. And the fun fact of them is, they're half the value of vintage GT. So because they didn't make that many of them, if you actually can find one, they're worth it. And they're actually pretty light too. They're not heavy. Well, in my book, heavy to me is basically anything that's like 48 pounds and up. But heavy to you modern guys is like 27 pounds. You're like, I ain't getting on that goddamn tank. But feeling these wheels that I have right here, I would want to say that with the rubber on them, and they're not big rubber. I mean, I think those are like 2.2s maybe. I think that they weigh inwards about, I don't know, 2.5 pounds a piece. We'll say the rear weight is about 5. So they're kind of heavy. But that's the reason why the old school bikes actually were heavy, is because of the fact that they were built 48 spoke. And that the funny thing about mid-school bikes is they didn't build them so that they'd be performance-based vehicles. They built them so that you could actually chuck them and get back on them, as most people would actually remember from the X Games and everything. The problem is like, if you actually look at how the progression of the sport has gone, the thing is basically when it comes to 38 spoke light bikes, 27 and less, out on the pro circuit and stuff like that, doing street and the park events, you usually don't see the guy chuck the bike. They usually go down with the bike, either with their hands on the grips or whatnot. Back in the day, like, what we would do is, like, literally, like, the first thing in our minds, we ain't making it. The second thing in our minds is, where can I throw my bike? And how far can I throw it and still land in a way that I'm not going to blow my shoulder out or get ran over by my bike? And that was the thing. Like, look at X Games back in 2000 to 2005. Street, well, when I say street, I mean, like, their park thing, or vert. Now, when they chucked the bike, they chucked the fucking bike. They, like, literally, like, that's it's foul, it's gone. And what they would do then is, they would run over and grab the bike and get back on it. They were built so beefy. I mean, like headsets back then were like, they were twice the expense of what headsets cost these days. Necks, 6 bolts. We ain't talking the whole bolt package. We're talking 6 bolts in the front, and usually like 2 to sometimes even 4 bolts to hold the stem on. And heck, I mean, some bikes even had, if I remember, dual bolt seat post clamps. Dual bolt seat post clamps. It's nuts. But I digress. I think what I actually have on the seat right now actually is quite nervously making me concerned of how heavy this bike is actually going to end up being. And I don't even have half the parts here. I got basically an allotment of parts in the house right now that just came in from New York. Like I was saying earlier, the 990 fork, I believe that is it came off of a Hoffman bike, but I don't think it was the original fork. It's got a D on it, so it might be a dyno fork, but I'm not sure. But it's heavy. Like it is heavy. Like, that fork weighs about 2 times what a normal fork weighs today. And it ain't because of the 990s. It's because of the head tube going down to the yoke. It's like it looks like it's like double butted, if not like triple or quad butted or something like that, because the hole that's on the bottom of it is tiny. It's just enough to get a brake cable through. I have 2 sets of gyros and another 3 sets of 990s, all Tektro. The bike has, I believe it's a Diacomp on it. If it's not a Diacomp, it's a Tektro. So if that's the case, then I have a bunch of Tektros. And I at this point in time, I'd love to get one of them stupid Odyssey Cincinnatis, at least on the rear. And even though I don't really have a fondness of them, I think they're kind of sloppy. But I am definitely going to be on the hunt for a proper Diacomp 990 for the front with the little loop down. Not like how Tektro does it with a little screw on the side. That wasn't really accurate. And the thing about it is instead of the cable coming straight down because of that loop, it goes out further out. And you usually end up having problems with, like, if you're doing any positioning that your leg is going close to your front fork, you usually will hit it because it sticks out so far. It looks hideous, by the way. And there's nothing you can do because it's an emotion piece, not like the Diacomp 990. I think they had a patent on it or something and nobody else copied it. So the Tektro, they just put a screw there, which is stupid. It looks freaking hideous. So the nuts in the story is I have I want to say like 5 more items to actually get, and I might be doing a micro adjust seat post with a layback on it, style points. Well, I like to actually sit down and ride. I don't understand, like, how the fuck do you kids actually ride your bike to the park if your seat is slammed to the stem? How? I get it, you want to do tail whips and stuff, but the thing is you don't need to do that. And the light has turned on, so we can, there we go. I want to get this all done probably in the next, like, probably 2 more weeks. I'll have a bike build video. But until then, I'm going to probably be doing teardowns on all the parts that I have, including these new wheels that I just acquired, and do a full breakdown and clean on them. Just basically, like, I'm probably gonna have to go to the bike shop and go pick up 2 tubes of green stuff and properly, like, push out all the junk out of these bearings. The front hub doesn't feel that bad. The rear hub doesn't feel that bad. My spare hub in the house, it's another 48 that came with the fork that I acquired from New York. That one, I don't believe is sealed. I think it's I think it's open bearing. If that's the case, then basically I'll go through it and like clean it as much as possible. But usually once you start feeling grit in non-sealed, it's junk. And because of the fact that it's mid-school, I don't believe you can remove the caps inside, because it's not the ball bearings are flying around inside there on an aluminum, like, machined out area. There's actually a machined out area that those cups go into. And cool fact is, their sealed version versus their non-sealed version, the only difference is the inserts that they put in them. They either insert a sealed bearing or they insert those cups. Sad fact is, you can't have like, you can't use the original axle for the non-sealed on the sealed. It has to be a sealed axle to put it in there. A lot of people are like, that's obvious. Well, a lot of people don't know. So that's that. Sorry for the long ass driving home video, but it's actually I don't know who Merritt is, but it looks like a really good chain. I really wanted to get that damn Odyssey, though. Like, from what I basically was reading about the Odysseys is, like, those chains are actually very, very easy to work with. But now that I got some light in here, you see a little nut right there that's on the handle? Right there? Yeah. Diacomp had a piece that would go into their rear brake. I think Kink made an adapter for that, but Diacomps actually went in there and it looped down. And then your tightener was on the bottom of that loop. It was a solid piece of steel that did its thing. Originally, I believe they used those on not 990s, but V-brakes. And Diacomp situated how they could actually use that on to the 990s, which hands down, that's the reason why the 990s from Diacomp are superior to everybody else's 990s. Well, they're replicas of the 990s. I mean, they can only go so far. They can't copy it wholeheartedly. And some people will say that steel piece dirtied up, and I mean, it's bike maintenance. You go ride your bike, and then you set amount of logs, and then you rebuild your bike. You don't just fucking do it. It's not a mountain bike. Mountain bikes, we do full teardowns like maybe once to 3 times per season, and then like do generalizing cleaning, like, every other ride, if not every ride, matters how bad you get the bike. Or if you're anal retentive like me and clean it every single time you come home. But with street bikes, park bikes, and stuff like that, I would say because of the abuse that our bikes end up going through, yeah, it's like every other ride, I would assume people are doing a teardown on their bike. And if they're not, then you're that guy that doesn't realize that you snapped something in your cassette or your coaster, and then the thing explodes internally, and then it just fucked the whole thing up. Like some people that I won't name names. But if you're high on your maintenance and basically you're constantly up on removing dirt and debris out of your bearings, you will see every single thing that is going on with your bike. And it's kind of more enjoyable than riding. Some people dig the mechanics of things. I mean, when I do the bike build, you'll understand that I'm one of the guys that likes to do the mechanical side of things, because my track box for when I go and do DH is literally the size of a briefcase, and it has every single tool a pro shop has to do everything, except for cups. I don't have a cup tool. I don't, I'd much rather just fucking take my time with a hammer. Just as long as you do it nicely, you don't got to worry about cracking your frame or fucking up the race of the bearing. It's just, you just can't give it the fucking one solid 1, 2, 3 whack and fucking expect the thing to go in. All right, that's 30 fucking minutes.